Hello and thanks for watching this short video on converting from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online, and this one focuses on how payroll goes over. So you'll see I'm in my QuickBooks Desktop file right now using the Premier Account Edition, and I do have an active payroll subscription. I have some paychecks in here. If we look at my transaction list by date, I filtered this report by liability checks. It's payroll liability checks. You see I have many here. And of course the desktop payroll and the QuickBooks Online payroll do not sync or really integrate in any way. However, the data will go over as regular checks to QuickBooks Online. And when I'm in my QuickBooks Online subscription, as you'll see later on in this video, I'm going to go ahead and sign up for the QuickBooks Online payroll and go ahead and walk through the setup and show you how to do that. Now here's how payroll currently converts from desktop, just so we're kind of agree before I do the conversion to QBO. So it's a very basic conversion. Transactions and payroll accounts are converted in order to balance the books in the QBO file, but the details behind the transactions, like the payroll item breakdown and employee year-to-date numbers, are not converted at this time. Paychecks and liability payments that you saw in my desktop file will go over too as regular checks, but I'll still need to set up the year-to-date amounts when I sign up for QuickBooks Online Payroll, because the online payroll will not see all these paychecks and liability payments, right? They're not converted to the online payroll module within QuickBooks Online. So I will need to set up the year-to-date amounts as I'm setting up the QuickBooks Online payroll subscription. Also, any kind of liability refunds, adjustment transactions, opening balance transactions that affect accounts convert as journal entries. And basic info about the employees are converted, though their payroll info does not. So again, I'll be signing up for QuickBooks Online Payroll. I'll walk through the setup interview for the employees and the items and the history. And then I'll be able to run payroll in the QuickBooks Online file. So I'm going to go to Company and export company file to QuickBooks Online and do the conversion. And once I'm done with that, we'll continue on with the video. All right, so I got an email that my QBO subscription has been not only created, but the data from the QuickBooks Desktop file we were in has been converted. So let's take a look at some of the reports to see some of how those liability payments and paychecks came in. And then actually in the first 30 days, your payroll is also free before you have to put in a credit card. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the payroll too. So in the QBO file, I'm going to click on Reports, and I just drilled into the profit and loss just to start. Again, the payroll reports per se that are hooked up to the QuickBooks Online payroll are not going to reflect the paychecks or liability checks. Right? I have to enter the year-to-date amounts, but still, in order for the reports to be, in good shape coming over from the desktop, you'll notice as I scroll down to the expenses here, and I'll find, the actual wage expense for payroll. And here would be the payroll tax expenses. I can just drill in on this 1512, and you'll see some checks. So they came over as regular checks. Look at one here for Vicky King, and it shows the actual wages, the liabilities, etc. that came over to make sure that the accounts are in the general ledger and your balance sheet and P&L and other reports are okay. So those are in here now. And then next we're going to go to the Employees tab. And here's what you'll see. We've imported your employees' info from your QuickBooks for Windows Company, and then you'll see a blue tab here on the right, Get Started with Payroll. One other thing first to show you is when you click on the gear icon and I go to My Account, just so you know, under Billing Info, even though that my trial is good for the next month because I started on the 11th of April, right? It would end the 11th of May. The QuickBooks Online Payroll, it shows subscription status is active. Okay, so eventually I'm going to want to go in and subscribe to both if you're going to be using the payroll in QuickBooks Online also. Now, if you created this QBO subscription from QuickBooks Online Accountant, you only have a couple days to put the credit card in. But if you go to QuickBooks.com, or like I did, I actually created the company sub while I was sending it from desktop to QBO. You can create a new company file there. You guys didn't see that, but that's what I did. It's as if I went to QuickBooks.com and just signed up for QuickBooks Online Plus. I get 30 days. So back to the Employees tab, and let's click on Get Started with Payroll. So get ready for payroll screen pops up. You have your business name, came over from the desktop, business address, city, state. I didn't have to put any of this in. And, obviously this is from the subscription sign up, and I go ahead and click continue. All right, so once you verify your address there on that, zip code, and even county if you need to, it asks, have you paid employees? And if you have, and I did in 2014, as you see, you would check off this for your W-2 employees. And after choosing yes, I've paid employees in 2014, when you're going to run your first payroll, I am going to do it before 7/1/2014. And then how do you pay your employees? You choose by paychecks and direct deposit or check or something like that. You go ahead and then click continue. The next is to finish the payroll setup, right? That's the next step. Then we're going to do taxes and then prior payrolls. This would be the year-to-date information. And anything you see a yellow mark, obviously we need to enter some missing info in order to pay Jonathan, Vicky, and Deborah. And once you click on the actual employee's name from that list, you can enter their W-4 info, the payroll schedule, and then, of course, any deductions. You can enter in your payroll liability items, as well as prior year-to-date history. And you would do this for each employee. So I'm just going to do it for the one, and then we'll come back here to this video and keep going. Nothing special here. This would be the employee withholding W-4 form. You fill this out, and then of course I'm in California, so this would be California state taxes and any exemptions. So you just choose this drop down arrow and put in the state taxes. Jonathan is married, one income, allowance, any additional amount, and then of course tax exemptions would be next. Now Jonathan doesn't really have any, but if you were going to turn FUTA off or Social Security Medicare, or he's exempt, this is where you'd go in to do that for your state SUI and SDI, etc. And then when you're done, you go ahead and click done. Brings you back to the list for this particular employee to continue on, how much you pay him, payroll schedules, again, other deductions that you can add. We'll go ahead and click on that and see what other deductions are available in the QuickBooks Online Payroll. So I have things like the 401k, insurance, partner's labor deduction, or you can add a totally new deduction or contribution yourself and set it up. And then finally, the year-to-date amounts for the employee. Keep in mind, how do you want to pay him? You can change it to direct deposit. I'm going to go ahead and click on enter 2014 prior pay details. Now it's important to do this for each employee as you're going through the setup to QuickBooks Online Payroll, because again, though the conversion from desktop to the QBO file brought over paychecks as regular checks, and the liability payments as regular checks, the QuickBooks Online Payroll will not see them. They will not reflect them or know that they're there. Okay, so you want to enter the year-to-date amounts. Probably, and again, you decide when you want to do this conversion. Obviously, around the first of the year is great, but as you do it at the, maybe the beginning of the next quarter or an end of a quarter, be a great time to do as well. So how much have you already paid Jonathan 2014? Did you pay him anytime between January and March 31st? Yes. Did you pay Jonathan on or after April 1st? Yes. And then you enter info from Jonathan's pay stub below, the year-to-date totals as of today for regular wages, vacation, etc., as well as totals as of March 31st. So as of the last quarter, and then of course as of today, since it's April 11th. And this is how the QuickBooks Online Payroll will know exactly how much to deduct from the next paycheck based on his wage base and what's been taken out already from the QuickBooks desktop file. Now, a good way to find out the info too, unless you have the stubs there, would be to run the payroll summary report as well and look at the gross pay, deductions, taxes withheld, any additions, and employer taxes and contributions to fill out the QuickBooks Online fields. You might have another report you like to run, but this one will work well as well. And you can filter it by name and by the particular employee. And of course, expanding the summary sections will really give you some detail, to fill out those appropriate boxes in the QuickBooks Online Payroll year-to-date setup. And when you're done filling out the appropriate fields based on the report you're using for both year-to-date as of today, as well as year-to-date for the end of your last quarter, for each employee, go ahead and click Continue in the lower right. And then when you click Done, you're brought back to the Edit Employee Detail window for that employee. So you'll have to do this for each employee as you're setting it up. Here's a gross pay, taxes withheld, a sample check based on the pay schedule and rate I entered. Right? And then I go ahead and click Done and work on the next employee. Once you have all the information set up for the employees, and again, a lot of the stuff came over. The pay rates came over. The payroll schedule came over. Right? You have to choose the payment method, right? Direct deposit and the year-to-date net pay. You go through for each employee, and then you click continue. And finally, be brought to the taxes setup, so you click continue there and put in the name of the business, etc., and your address, federal tax details, and then a page for the sales tax details, right? If you have your California number or your state number and your deposit schedule, of course, here are the options for the deposit schedule. Go ahead and click done. And next, you're going to fill in the company payroll totals for this quarter. Regarding, pay date, regular pay, vacation, mileage reimbursement, bonus, healthcare, all the particular liabilities and payroll expenses that you have for the company liability section. Go ahead and click continue. So you'll see a window to provide the payroll totals for one of your last pay dates at 8/4/2014. You put in the total amount paid on from the company's perspective and go ahead and click done. And then once that's done, you're all set up. You'll see the check mark, ready to run your first payroll, and you can go ahead and click Run Payroll Now. And I'll let you guys go from here, but that's how easy it is to then create a paycheck, put in the hours, etc. You can also, the hours will come in from the weekly timesheet in QuickBooks Online. And for your employees to get to that, remember in QuickBooks Online Plus, you can have unlimited time trackers or time tracking users. Just go to the plus, the top, show more, weekly timesheet. That time will flow in and you can go ahead then run payroll from there. So that's kind of post-conversion work that you need to do for payroll, converting from the desktop file to QuickBooks Online file. Hope that was helpful. Have a great day.